Have you ever felt like life's challenges are stealing your peace? Or perhaps someone's words or actions leave you upset, taking away your happiness for the day? Have you noticed how easily your mood can change based on what's happening around you? It's almost like we're constantly giving others the power to decide how we feel. But what if you could take back control? What if, no matter what happens in the world, your joy could remain unshaken? We often get caught up in the demands of life. Work pressures, personal challenges, and interactions with others that test our patience. These things can drain our energy and steal our inner peace. But what if the real secret to happiness isn't outside of us at all? What if it's within our own control to keep our joy alive and strong, no matter what life throws our way? Imagine this. You're walking down the street, and a stranger bumps into you without saying sorry. Most of us would feel irritated or upset. But what if, instead of reacting negatively, you chose to let it go, understanding that their actions don't have to disturb your peace? This simple choice could be the difference between a joyful day and a frustrated one. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we dive deep into the ancient teachings that help us live better, more peaceful lives. In today's video, we'll explore how to protect your joy and keep it intact, no matter what challenges arise. But before we dive in, I need to mention something very important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people actually subscribe. So please, if you're finding value in what we share, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us bring more insightful content to you. Let's get started and explore how to reclaim and protect your joy, with wisdom drawn from the timeless teachings of Buddhism. The roots of joy. Understanding happiness in Buddhism. In our fast-paced world, we often find ourselves searching for happiness in places where it cannot truly be found. We chase after material possessions, strive for success, or look to others for validation. But what if I told you that true joy isn't something you can find outside yourself? What if it's already within you, waiting to be discovered? In Buddhism, joy is not simply a fleeting emotion tied to external circumstances. Instead, it's something deeper, something that comes from within. The Buddha taught that real happiness is not dependent on wealth, status, or even relationships, but on understanding the nature of our minds and the world around us. So, what is the root of joy in Buddhism? It begins with understanding the nature of suffering and how we can transform it into peace and joy. In the Buddhist view, life is full of suffering. This may sound harsh at first, but let's look deeper. The Buddha didn't mean that life is entirely miserable. Instead, he pointed out that suffering comes from our attachments. The things we hold onto too tightly, whether it's people, possessions, or our own expectations of how life should be. Imagine this for a moment. You have a favorite possession, something you love dearly. It could be a book, a piece of clothing, or even a cherished memory. Now, imagine someone takes it from you. How would you feel? Perhaps sad, angry, or disappointed. The reason we feel these emotions is because we are attached to the idea of that thing being ours. The Buddha called this attachment tanha, or craving, and he taught that craving is the root of suffering. If we look closely at our lives, we'll see that much of our suffering is born from this craving. We crave success, we crave approval, we crave more. When we don't get what we desire, we feel pain. But here's where the power of Buddhist teachings comes in. The key to lasting happiness is not about having more, but about wanting less. When we let go of our attachments, whether to things, outcomes, or even our own desires, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of peace and contentment. This brings us to a fundamental teaching in Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths. The first truth is that suffering is a part of life. But the second truth tells us that suffering has a cause, our attachments and cravings. The third truth is incredibly empowering. It tells us that there is a way to end suffering. And the fourth truth is the path to ending suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path is the Buddhist guide to living a life that leads to true happiness. It's not about changing the world around you, but about changing the way you respond to the world. It includes principles like right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. These are not just ideals. They are practical ways of living that can help you overcome the distractions, frustrations, and attachments that steal your joy. Let's dive into one of these aspects, right mindfulness. This is about being fully present in the moment, paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment. How often do we find ourselves living in the past or worrying about the future? We're either regretting something that happened or stressing over what's coming next. This constant distraction keeps us from experiencing the beauty of the present moment, which is where joy can truly be found. In Buddhism, mindfulness is like a mirror. It reflects your true nature and allows you to see things as they really are, without the distortion of your attachments or desires. By practicing mindfulness, you learn to detach from your thoughts and emotions. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. This realization is a powerful source of inner peace. Now, let's talk about impermanence, another key Buddhist teaching. In simple terms, impermanence means that everything is constantly changing. Nothing lasts forever. This might sound unsettling at first, but it's actually one of the most liberating truths in life. Because everything is in a constant state of flux, nothing is truly worth clinging to. Our happiness doesn't have to depend on external conditions because we know that everything, whether good or bad, will eventually pass. The same goes for our emotions. When you experience joy, enjoy it fully, but also understand that it won't last forever. Similarly, when you face challenges or pain, remember that they, too, will pass. Imagine this. You're sitting outside on a sunny day, enjoying the warmth of the sun. You're happy, content, but then a cloud appears and it starts to rain. In that moment, you might feel disappointed. Yet, you know that the rain won't last long. Soon, the sun will return. This is how we can learn to view joy and sorrow in life. When we fully embrace the present moment without clinging to it, we experience joy in its purest form. And when things change, as they inevitably will, we are able to let go with ease. Buddhism teaches us that our happiness is not dependent on things staying the same, but on our ability to adapt to change with a peaceful mind. This acceptance of impermanence is liberating because it frees us from the fear of loss. It helps us to find joy in the simple moments, knowing that they are fleeting, and that is precisely what makes them precious. But here's the paradox. The more we let go of our attachment to outcomes, the more joy we actually experience. When we stop striving so hard for things to be a certain way, we create space for life to unfold naturally. Instead of pushing and pulling, we learn to flow with life, embracing both the highs and lows with a calm heart. This concept of letting go doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means practicing non-attachment, holding things lightly and not allowing them to control our emotions or sense of well-being. The more we practice non-attachment, the more freedom we experience. We no longer depend on external circumstances to dictate our happiness. Instead, we cultivate an inner peace that remains unshaken by the ups and downs of life. To illustrate this, let's look at a simple example. Think about a tree. The tree doesn't struggle to hold on to its leaves. When autumn comes, the leaves fall naturally, and the tree lets them go. It doesn't mourn the loss of the leaves or try to keep them. The tree remains rooted and strong, regardless of the changing seasons. This is the kind of inner strength we can cultivate by embracing the teachings of Buddhism and learning to let go of our attachments. As you reflect on this, ask yourself, what are you holding on to in your life? What attachments are preventing you from experiencing true joy? Are you clinging to something that is causing you suffering? Or are you able to let it go and find peace in the present moment? Understanding that joy is not about holding on tightly, but about embracing the flow of life, is the first step toward a deeper, more lasting happiness. True joy, according to Buddhism, is not something you need to chase after. It is something that arises naturally when you let go of attachments and live with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. When you stop fighting against life and start flowing with it, you unlock the boundless joy that is already within you. In the next part, we will explore the thieves of joy, those forces and habits that try to steal our peace. Understanding these thieves will help us recognize when we are being pulled away from our true joy, so we can take back control and protect it from harm. Stay tuned. The thieves of joy. Identifying the culprits. In our daily lives, we often encounter moments where our peace and happiness feel suddenly lost. Have you ever experienced that feeling when your heart sinks because of a rude comment, a disagreement, or even just the chaos of the world around you? It's as if something or someone has stolen your joy, and you're left wondering how it happened so quickly. But here's the thing. These thieves of joy, they don't always wear a clear face, and they often hide in plain sight. Recognizing them is the first step toward reclaiming your happiness. When we look closely, we see that there are many things that can take away our peace. These thieves are not always people or events, but often our own thoughts and reactions to those things. It's crucial to understand that these thieves don't have power over you unless you give it to them. They come in many forms: anger, fear, jealousy, comparison, and attachment. Each of these feelings can quietly creep in and, before you know it, they've taken your joy. Let's start with anger. It's easy to understand how anger can steal our peace. Think about the last time you were angry. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or perhaps you had an argument with a close friend. Anger, in that moment, takes over your mind and body, clouding your judgment and stripping you of the ability to experience peace. The next time you find yourself getting angry, ask yourself, is this really worth my peace? Anger will always try to rob you of your joy, but when you recognize it, you can choose not to let it. Another thief of joy is fear. Fear often holds us back from fully living, from experiencing the present moment. It whispers thoughts like, what if I fail? Or what if something goes wrong? Fear can paralyze us, keeping us from feeling at ease, from stepping forward and embracing the beauty of life. In Buddhism, fear is seen as an illusion, a projection of our mind based on imagined scenarios. When we let go of these imagined fears, we reclaim our joy, because fear no longer controls us. Then there's jealousy, which can creep in unnoticed. We all know that feeling when we see someone else achieving something we want for ourselves. Jealousy steals our happiness by focusing our attention on others rather than on our own progress. The moment we start comparing ourselves to others, we begin to lose sight of our own unique path and the beauty of our own journey. But remember, everyone's journey is different. The moment you stop comparing yourself to others is the moment you stop allowing jealousy to steal your joy. One of the most common thieves of joy is attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is often referred to as the root of suffering. When we become too attached to things, whether it's a person, a material possession, or an idea of how life should be, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Things change, people come and go, and life doesn't always unfold the way we expect. When we are attached to the way things should be, we resist the flow of life and lose our ability to enjoy the present moment. The key is to practice detachment, not in a cold or uncaring way, but in a way that allows us to appreciate and enjoy life without clinging to it. These thieves, anger, fear, jealousy, and attachment, often enter our lives silently, without us even noticing. But once we become aware of them, we can begin to defend ourselves against them. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming our joy. Just like a warrior watches out for enemies, we need to be vigilant about the things that steal our peace. And the best part is, these thieves don't have any power over us unless we give them permission. Buddhism teaches us that joy is not something external, not something we can buy or achieve. True joy comes from within, and it arises when we let go of these thieves. We must train our minds to be aware of when anger, fear, jealousy, or attachment arise, and make the conscious choice to not allow them to take hold. This doesn't mean that we won't feel these emotions. Emotions are natural, and they are part of the human experience. But it does mean that we can choose how we respond to them. We can choose to let them pass, instead of letting them steal our peace. One simple practice to help us in this is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in the moment, without judgment. When we are mindful, we can observe our thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them. So, if you notice anger rising, instead of reacting impulsively, you take a moment to breathe, to observe the anger, and to decide whether you want to hold on to it or let it go. The same goes for fear, jealousy, and attachment. By being mindful, you can catch these emotions before they steal your joy and choose a different path. It's also important to remember that we can't control the world around us. People will act in ways we don't like, situations will unfold in ways we don't expect, and life will sometimes feel unfair. but we can control how we respond. We can choose to hold on to our peace, to protect our joy, even in the midst of chaos. It's all about making the decision to not let the external world dictate how we feel inside. When we take back control in this way, we create a life where our joy is not easily stolen. So, when you find yourself feeling upset, angry, or fearful, ask yourself, what am I allowing to steal my joy? And remember, the power to protect your joy is always in your hands. With awareness, mindfulness, and the teachings of Buddhism, you can identify these thieves and keep them from taking what is rightfully yours. Your peace, your joy, your happiness, they are all yours to protect. And with practice, you'll find that no thief can ever take them from you again. In the end, protecting your joy isn't about living a life free from challenges or negative emotions. It's about learning to navigate those moments with a peaceful, balanced mind. The more you practice, the more you'll realize that no matter what happens, your joy is always available to you, ready to be embraced once more. It's always there, quietly waiting for you to come back to it, to reclaim it, and to allow it to flow freely within you. Mindfulness, the gatekeeper of your inner peace. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We rush through our days, multitasking and trying to get ahead, but in doing so, we often forget the most important thing, our inner peace. Without even realizing it, we let the constant stream of thoughts, worries, and distractions take control, and our joy slips further away. But there is a way to stop this: mindfulness. Mindfulness is the simple practice of being fully present in each moment. It means paying attention to what's happening right now, without judging it, without wishing it were different, and without allowing your mind to wander. Imagine for a moment, instead of thinking about the past or worrying about the future, you focus entirely on the task at hand. Whether that's drinking a cup of tea, walking down the street, or having a conversation, you take a deep breath and allow yourself to just be. This practice sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When we are mindful, we stop letting external events dictate how we feel. A moment of mindfulness can anchor us, no matter how chaotic life becomes. Think about a time when something unexpected happened. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or you faced an unexpected challenge. In that moment, you can either react impulsively, letting anger or frustration take over, or you can choose to pause, breathe, and be aware of what's going on inside of you. The latter is mindfulness. And in that moment of awareness, you regain control. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them. We don't let the negative ones pull us in, nor do we get too carried away by the positive ones. Everything becomes just a passing moment, like a cloud floating across the sky. This is the essence of Buddhism, the idea that our thoughts and emotions are impermanent. They come and go, and we don't need to identify with them. If you can learn to let go of the need to control everything, if you can simply observe with awareness, you'll find your inner peace growing stronger each day. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to stop us from reacting to situations in harmful ways. When we're not mindful, we tend to react to life's events without thinking. We snap at people, we hold on to grudges, we let the small things bother us. But when we are mindful, we notice these impulses before they take over. We recognize the feeling of frustration or anger, and we make a conscious choice to let it pass. This moment of pause is where the magic happens. For instance, think about a situation where someone says something rude to you. The typical response might be to retaliate with a sharp comment, or to hold on to the hurt for the rest of the day. But in a mindful state, you recognize that their words don't define you. You take a deep breath, acknowledge the feeling of hurt, but you don't let it control your actions. Instead, you move forward with peace, understanding that their words are just temporary. And in that moment, your joy remains untouched. This is not to say that mindfulness is always easy. We are human, and we will face moments where we are overwhelmed by emotions. But the beauty of mindfulness is that it teaches us to return to the present moment again and again. Even if we get lost in a negative thought or emotion, we can always come back to the present and begin anew. It's like the ocean. The waves may crash and pull us under, but the water is always calm beneath the surface, waiting for us to find it again. Mindfulness also helps us develop a greater sense of self-awareness. The more we practice being mindful, the more we understand ourselves. We notice when we're stressed, when we're tired, when we're angry, and why we feel these things. We start to see patterns in our behavior. Things that once seemed automatic now become clear. This self-awareness is powerful because it allows us to make better choices. We can choose how to respond to situations rather than just reacting impulsively. There's a beautiful teaching in Buddhism that says, when you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Mindfulness helps us realize that we already have everything we need to be happy and at peace. In the present moment, we are whole. We don't need to chase after the next thing, the next achievement, or the next pleasure to feel fulfilled. We are enough just as we are, right here, right now. This understanding is a cornerstone of Buddhism. It's about finding contentment and joy in the present, without needing anything else. Practicing mindfulness also means embracing the simplicity of life. We don't need to make everything complicated. Often, we get caught up in overthinking and striving for more. But in Buddhism, there's a concept of simplicity and contentment. Mindfulness allows us to experience the beauty in small things. The sound of birds outside, the feeling of sunlight on our skin, the taste of food, or the sensation of our breath. These simple, everyday moments are enough to bring us peace if we take the time to notice them. Mindfulness also invites us to practice gratitude. When we're mindful, we naturally start to appreciate the present moment. We begin to notice the things we've been taking for granted. The warmth of a hug, the joy of a good conversation, the beauty of nature. These little things, when noticed and appreciated, are the building blocks of lasting happiness. Gratitude is a way to fill our hearts with joy, and mindfulness helps us see the abundance around us that we often overlook. As we practice mindfulness, we start to see the world differently. We no longer need to hold on to the past, and we stop worrying about the future. We find peace in the here and now. This doesn't mean that we stop making plans or stop striving for better things, but it means that we learn to live fully in each moment, without the constant pressure of what's next. We can still achieve our goals, but we do so with a calm and peaceful mind. So how can you start practicing mindfulness today? It's simpler than you think. You don't need to meditate for hours or retreat to the mountains. Start small. Try to focus on your breath for just a few minutes each day. Notice how your body feels. Pay attention to the sounds around you. When you eat, eat with full awareness. Notice the taste, texture, and smell of your food. These small practices, over time, will help you cultivate mindfulness in your everyday life. Remember, mindfulness is not about being perfect. It's about showing up, being present, and allowing yourself to experience life without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. It's a practice that brings us back to the simplicity of being. And when we can do that, we find a deep sense of inner peace. In Buddhism, mindfulness is one of the essential practices that leads to enlightenment. It helps us see clearly, to act with intention, and to live with compassion. And when we live mindfully, our joy becomes something we carry within us, no matter what the world throws our way. So, take a moment today, right now, to practice mindfulness. Take a deep breath and be present. Feel the world around you, and remember that peace is always available, here and now, in this very moment. Attachment and detachment, mastering emotional balance. In life, we all carry attachments, whether it's to people, things, or even ideas. These attachments are not necessarily bad, but they can be the root of much of our suffering. Have you ever noticed how something or someone can make you feel incredibly happy, and then, when that thing is taken away, you feel lost or empty? This is the power of attachment. It can make you feel like your happiness depends entirely on something outside of you, but it doesn't have to be this way. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is one of the main causes of suffering. When we become too attached to things, whether it's a person, a material possession, or even a certain outcome, we give away our power to those things. It's like holding onto a rope tied to a rock in the middle of a flowing river. As the river pulls, you're stuck holding the rope, unable to move freely. Your happiness is caught up in something outside of you, and when that thing shifts or disappears, your happiness shifts with it. But here's the liberating truth. You can choose not to be attached. You can love and appreciate without clinging. When you practice detachment, you create space for a deeper, more lasting form of peace. It's about not allowing your emotions to be tossed around by external circumstances. It's about finding balance and steadiness within, regardless of what's happening outside. Let's take an example. Imagine you're in a relationship. At first, everything is great. Your partner makes you feel loved, supported, and happy. But what happens if, one day, they act in a way that disappoints you? Without detachment, you might feel devastated, like your world is falling apart. You might think, I can't live without this person, or I need this love to feel complete. But with detachment, you understand that your sense of worth and happiness doesn't have to depend on someone else. You can still love, you can still care, but you don't lose yourself in the process. You remain whole, regardless of their actions. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, or that you become cold or indifferent. It's about not allowing your happiness to be dependent on the other person or situation. It's about finding joy in the present moment, in your own being, not in external sources that could change at any time. A similar attachment can happen with our possessions. Think about the things you value most: your phone, your car, your home. You might spend a lot of time, energy, and emotion on them. But what happens if something happens to those things? What if you lose them, break them, or they simply wear out? Without detachment, you might feel devastated, as if you've lost a part of yourself. But if you practice detachment, you can enjoy your possessions, take care of them, but also understand that they don't define you. You don't need them to be happy. They're just things, and your true joy comes from within. This doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy the things or people you love. It means that you don't tie your identity or happiness to them. When you let go of attachment, you free yourself from the fear of loss. You stop feeling like you're constantly chasing after things to feel complete. You start to realize that everything you need to feel whole and happy is already inside of you. Detachment also means letting go of the need to control outcomes. How often do we plan our lives, setting specific goals, only to become frustrated or disappointed when things don't turn out the way we imagined? We want things to go according to our plan, but life is unpredictable, and this desire for control can cause unnecessary stress and disappointment. When you practice detachment, you let go of the need to control every little detail. You allow life to unfold as it will, knowing that everything will work out as it's meant to. A simple practice that can help develop detachment is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or attachment. When you're mindful, you observe your thoughts, emotions, and sensations, but you don't let them control you. You let them come and go, like clouds in the sky. This practice helps you become more aware of your attachments and allows you to slowly release them. Another important aspect of detachment is understanding the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is temporary, and this includes your possessions, your relationships, your emotions, and even your thoughts. Everything comes and goes, and when you truly embrace this truth, you begin to understand that nothing is permanent. Your happiness does not have to be tied to something that could disappear at any moment. When you let go of the need to cling to things, you create space for peace, freedom, and lasting joy. Now, let's dive into the emotional aspect of attachment. When we become emotionally attached to something or someone, it often comes from a place of fear. Fear of losing that thing, fear of not being enough without it, or fear of not being loved. This fear creates a cycle of dependence, where we constantly seek outside validation to feel good about ourselves. But when you practice detachment, you begin to break free from this cycle. You realize that you are enough on your own, and you don't need external approval to feel complete. This emotional balance allows you to move through life with more ease. When you're not constantly clinging to things or people, you become more adaptable and flexible. You stop being controlled by your desires and fears, and instead, you start responding to life from a place of inner calm and wisdom. You may wonder, how do I practice this in my daily life? It's simple, but not always easy. Start by observing your attachments. When you feel upset, ask yourself, what am I attached to in this moment? Is it a person's approval? A material possession? A certain outcome? Once you identify the attachment, practice releasing it. Breathe deeply, acknowledge the impermanence of the situation, and remind yourself that your happiness is not dependent on it. Over time, As you practice detachment, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel lighter, more free, and less affected by external circumstances. Your happiness will no longer depend on what others think or what you have, but on your own inner peace and acceptance. Detachment is not about avoiding love, care, or enjoyment of life. It's about finding the right balance between love and freedom, connection and independence. It's about living with an open heart without clinging to anything that might hold you back from experiencing true joy. When you master emotional balance through attachment and detachment, you become like the tree in the wind. The tree bends with the breeze, but never breaks. You learn to bend with life's challenges, but you never let them break your spirit. You remain rooted in your true self, grounded in the present moment, and open to whatever life brings. In the end, the key to mastering attachment and detachment lies in understanding that you are enough. You don't need anything outside of yourself to complete you. Your joy, peace, and fulfillment come from within. And when you let go of attachment, you set yourself free to experience life in its fullest, most beautiful form. By practicing detachment, you unlock the path to lasting happiness and emotional balance, and you protect your inner joy from being stolen by the fleeting distractions of the world. Compassion and kindness, tools for unshakable joy. When we talk about joy, it's easy to think that it's something we need to chase or grab, like an object we can hold in our hands. But in reality, joy is a state of mind, a feeling that arises from within. And one of the most powerful ways to nurture that inner joy is through compassion and kindness. These two qualities are not just things we do for others. They are keys to unlocking a deeper, more lasting happiness within ourselves. Imagine, for a moment, that you're walking down the street, and you see someone who looks troubled. They may be stressed, sad, or even angry. Now, the natural instinct might be to avoid them, thinking it's best not to get involved. But what if you stopped for just a second, looked at them with understanding, and offered a kind word or gesture? It might not change their world completely, but it can create a ripple effect that softens their heart. And here's the surprising part. Offering that kindness doesn't only benefit them, it benefits you too. When you act with compassion, you create a sense of peace and warmth inside yourself. It's like planting seeds of joy that grow not only for the person you're helping but for you as well. In Buddhism, compassion is known as karuna. It's not just about feeling sympathy for others' suffering. It's about wanting to relieve that suffering, to ease their pain. But here's the thing. When we practice compassion, we don't just do it for the benefit of others. We do it for our own well-being too. You see, when we open our hearts to others, when we show them that we care, we also open up space in ourselves for joy. We create a mental and emotional environment that fosters happiness, not just for the people around us, but for ourselves as well. Think about it. When you're kind to someone, when you make the effort to brighten their day, doesn't it also make you feel better? It's like a natural law. The more kindness you put out into the world, the more kindness comes back to you. Not necessarily from the person you helped, but from life itself. And as this cycle continues, you start to notice that joy is no longer something you need to chase or strive for. It becomes a constant companion, simply because you've chosen to live with compassion and kindness. But there's more to it. Buddhism teaches that true compassion isn't just about doing kind acts. It's about cultivating a mindset of kindness in every moment. This means approaching every situation, no matter how challenging, with the intention to ease suffering and promote happiness. It's easy to be kind when things are going well, but what about when you're facing difficulties? What about when you're struggling yourself? This is where the practice of loving kindness, or metta, comes in. Metta is the unconditional love and care you extend to yourself and others without expecting anything in return. It's not about how people react to your kindness. It's about the state of mind you cultivate as you practice it. And here's the incredible part. When you start practicing metta, you begin to treat yourself with more care and kindness too. You stop being so hard on yourself, and you start to see yourself with compassion, just as you would see a friend who's suffering. In difficult times, when you feel frustrated, angry, or overwhelmed, practicing loving kindness can help transform those negative emotions into something more peaceful. Instead of reacting with anger or stress, you can respond with a calm, compassionate heart. This shift doesn't just make your life easier, it makes it more joyful. You begin to feel lighter, more at ease, because you are no longer holding on to negative emotions that drain your energy. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on why compassion and kindness have such a powerful effect on our inner joy. At the core of every human being, there's a deep need to feel connected, to feel understood, and to feel cared for. We all want to know that we matter. When we offer compassion to others, we're recognizing their humanity and showing them that they are not alone. We're offering a kind of emotional nourishment that helps them feel seen and valued. And when we do this, it creates a deep sense of fulfillment and joy within ourselves. Here's a simple example. You might have had a rough day, full of stress and worries, but then you call a friend just to check on them, offer a kind word, or lend a listening ear. As you help them, something shifts within you. Your own worries don't feel as heavy anymore, and a sense of calm starts to fill you up. The more you give, the more you receive. This is the power of compassion and kindness. It doesn't just heal others, it heals you too. It's also important to note that compassion isn't limited to other people. It includes being kind and understanding to yourself as well. So often, we can be our harshest critics. When we make mistakes or face challenges, we can get stuck in self-blame or negative thinking. But when we practice compassion, we start to treat ourselves with the same gentleness we would offer a friend who's going through a tough time. We forgive ourselves, we accept ourselves, and we allow ourselves to heal. One of the most beautiful things about kindness and compassion is that they are contagious. When you treat others with respect and care, it encourages them to do the same. And this creates a ripple effect, spreading positive energy throughout the world. It's like lighting a candle. When you light someone else's candle, your own light doesn't diminish. Instead, it grows brighter, because the act of kindness nurtures both the giver and the receiver. In Buddhism, this concept is known as interbeing, the understanding that we are all interconnected. Our actions, words, and even thoughts have an impact on those around us. When we choose to act with kindness and compassion, we create a ripple effect that can transform the world. And the more we practice this, the more natural it becomes. Our joy becomes rooted not just in what we have, but in how we choose to treat the world and everyone in it. To live a joyful life, it's essential to remember that joy isn't something that comes from external circumstances. It's something we create from within. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is by embracing compassion and kindness. These qualities not only bring happiness to others, but they also fill our own hearts with warmth, peace, and joy. So, every time you choose to be kind, every time you show compassion, remember, you are nurturing your own joy as well as the joy of the world around you. The more we practice compassion and kindness, the more our joy becomes unshakable. When we see the suffering of others and choose to respond with love and care, we create a sense of purpose and fulfillment in our lives. And that, my friends, is the key to lasting happiness. When we choose compassion, we choose joy. Not just for others, but for ourselves. Impermanence, embracing the flow of life. In life, everything changes. The moments you're living right now are already fading into the past. The weather outside, the thoughts in your mind, the people around you, all of them are in a constant state of change. In Buddhism, this is called impermanence, the understanding that everything in life is temporary. And this truth holds the key to protecting your inner peace and joy. Think about it. When we grasp onto things, whether it's a moment, a relationship, or even our own feelings, we often set ourselves up for disappointment. Because nothing stays the same forever. The joy you feel today can be replaced by sorrow tomorrow. The success you celebrate today can turn into struggle tomorrow. This is not a negative outlook. It's the truth of life. And understanding it can actually set you free. You see, we suffer because we hold on too tightly to things, trying to make them last longer than they naturally do. But if we could accept that everything is in a state of flux, we would stop trying to control things that are beyond our control. We would stop fearing change and begin embracing it. Imagine a river. The water that flows through it never stays the same. It moves, it shifts, and it always continues forward. You can't hold on to a single drop of water in the river, because as soon as you try, it slips away. Life is like this river. If we try to hold on to every moment, every feeling, every possession, we become like someone trying to hold the water in their hands. It slips away, leaving us frustrated, upset, and drained. But when we accept impermanence, we can begin to flow with life instead of against it. Just like the river, we move through life, letting things come and go as they naturally do. When things are good, we enjoy them fully, knowing that they will change. And when things are tough, we know that, just like the river, this too shall pass. The Buddha taught that understanding impermanence is the key to reducing suffering. When we stop expecting life to stay the same, we can find peace in the flow. We start to see that every experience, whether joyful or painful, is just a passing moment. And that passing moment doesn't define us or our happiness. Let's consider an example from daily life. Imagine you are stuck in traffic, feeling frustrated and impatient. You want to get home, but the cars are not moving. In this moment, everything feels out of your control. But what if you could remind yourself that the traffic, like everything else in life, is temporary? It won't last forever. It's just a passing moment. Instead of letting that moment steal your peace, you could choose to breathe, relax, and remember that this moment will soon be behind you. The more we understand impermanence, the more we can deal with life's challenges with a sense of calm. Buddhism teaches that this understanding of impermanence can lead us to greater freedom. When we let go of the need to control everything, we are free to experience life as it is. We no longer need to cling to our possessions, our plans, or even our emotions. We can live more fully, appreciating every moment without worrying about how long it will last. However, it's important to understand that embracing impermanence does not mean we become detached or indifferent to life. It means that we don't let our happiness depend on things that are bound to change. Instead, we find joy in the present moment, knowing that it's enough as it is. The joy you feel right now doesn't need to be permanent for it to be real. The joy of a beautiful sunrise, the laughter of a loved one, or the satisfaction of a job well done. These are all moments to cherish. But when we understand that they are temporary, we appreciate them even more deeply because we know they are precious. And impermanence is not just about the good moments. It also applies to the difficult ones. Pain, suffering, and loss are all part of life, and they too are temporary. When we accept that everything changes, we can face hardship with more resilience. We know that just like the passing storm, the pain we feel will also pass. There's a beautiful teaching in Buddhism called anicca, which means the impermanent nature of all things. The Buddha taught that everything in life is in constant flux. Nothing stays the same, not even for a second. The key to peace is in letting go of our attachment to things staying the same. Instead, we learn to let go and flow with the changes, knowing that everything has its season. Let's say you're going through a tough time, maybe in your career or your personal life. You might feel like it's the end of the world. But the truth is, this moment, as difficult as it may seem, is just one moment in the grand flow of life. Tomorrow, or even next week, things could look completely different. The more you accept this, the less power these difficult times have over you. You realize they are just temporary, like clouds passing through the sky. One of the most profound ways to embrace impermanence is through the practice of meditation. When we meditate, we observe our thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations as they come and go. We don't try to hold on to them. We let them rise, exist for a moment, and then fade away. This practice teaches us that nothing is permanent, and that's okay. We can be at peace with the ever-changing nature of our experience. To truly live with impermanence in mind, we must be willing to let go of our attachments. This doesn't mean we stop caring about people or things. Rather, it means that we don't tie our happiness to their permanence. We learn to appreciate them for what they are in the moment, without clinging to them. And when they change or go away, we can accept it without suffering. Think about the seasons. The trees lose their leaves in the fall, and the cold winter follows. But the spring always comes again, bringing new life. Life is like that too. We go through periods of change, of loss, of difficulty. But just as winter passes and spring arrives, so too do difficult times pass, and brighter days return. The more we understand impermanence, the more we begin to see that we are not at the mercy of life's changes. Instead, we are part of the flow of life itself. And when we embrace the flow, we are free to experience the full richness of each moment, without the fear of it slipping away. As we conclude, remember that impermanence is not something to fear. It's a truth to embrace. By understanding that everything changes, we can free ourselves from the grip of fear, worry, and attachment. And we can protect our joy, knowing that no matter what happens, we are part of a greater, ever-changing cycle. We flow with life, and in that flow, we find peace. The art of letting go, releasing grudges and pain. In life, we often carry around a heavy burden, emotional weight that doesn't belong to us. It's like holding on to a hot coal, thinking that we can hurt others by doing so. But in reality, the only person we hurt is ourselves. This weight can come from grudges, past pain, or unresolved conflicts. Letting go isn't always easy, but it is the only way to find true peace and joy. Let's begin by considering a common experience. When someone wrongs you, it could be a friend who betrayed your trust, a colleague who took credit for your work, or a loved one who hurt you with words or actions. In those moments, it's easy to feel anger, resentment, and a desire to hold on to that hurt. But why? What does it really do for us? The truth is, holding on to grudges keeps us tied to the past, and in doing so, we prevent ourselves from moving forward. When we hold on to past pain, it's like we're constantly reliving those moments, over and over. It's as if we're locked in a prison of our own making. The person who wronged us may have long moved on, but we continue to carry that weight, letting it control how we feel and how we interact with the world. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is one of the causes of suffering. When we attach ourselves to negative feelings like anger or resentment, we are only creating more pain for ourselves. The key to liberation from this pain is letting go. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting what happened, nor does it mean that what happened was right. It simply means releasing the grip those negative emotions have on you, so they no longer control your happiness. Imagine holding a grudge as holding onto a tight fistful of sand. The tighter you grip it, the more sand slips through your fingers. The harder you try to control the situation, the more you lose. But if you open your hand and let the sand fall, you stop losing what you're holding on to. This is how it works with your emotions as well. When you let go, you stop holding on to pain, resentment, and anger. You free yourself. One of the most powerful tools for letting go is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness isn't always easy. We may feel that by forgiving someone, we're letting them off the hook. But forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of negative emotions. It's about taking back your peace and joy, regardless of what the other person has done. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, not to the one who hurt you. Think about someone you might be holding a grudge against. It could be a small hurt or a deep wound. Now, imagine that you choose to forgive them, not for their sake, but for your own. When you forgive, you release yourself from the emotional grip they have on you. You give yourself the freedom to heal, to move forward, and to embrace the present moment. This is the power of letting go. Letting go also means not clinging to past mistakes or regrets. How many times have you found yourself replaying past errors in your mind, wishing you had done things differently? It's a natural tendency, but it serves no purpose. The past is gone. What's important is the present moment. Every day is an opportunity to learn and grow. The mistakes you've made are not who you are. They are simply lessons you've learned along the way. Holding on to them only keeps you stuck in a loop of self-criticism and regret. In Buddhism, this is where the concept of impermanence comes in. Everything in life is changing, including our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Clinging to the past or future only creates suffering because those moments no longer exist. The only moment that truly matters is the present. By letting go of what no longer serves us, we create space for peace, joy, and growth. Another way to let go is through mindfulness and meditation. When we become mindful of our thoughts, we can notice when we're holding on to something. By simply observing these thoughts without judgment, we begin to detach from them. It's like watching clouds pass by in the sky. You don't need to hold on to every cloud. You can simply let them float by. Similarly, when negative thoughts or emotions arise, notice them, acknowledge them, and then let them go. This practice helps us stop identifying with our pain and allows us to create a distance from it. Sometimes we hold on to things because we believe that by doing so, we are protecting ourselves from further pain. We may think that by not forgiving or letting go, we are preventing ourselves from being hurt again. But in reality, we're only keeping ourselves trapped in the cycle of suffering. True protection comes from releasing those fears and allowing ourselves to experience the world without the filters of past pain. It's also important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean abandoning our values or beliefs. It's not about being passive or letting others take advantage of us. It's about recognizing that we can choose how we respond to life's challenges. We don't have to let others' actions determine our emotional state. We can choose peace, even in the face of adversity. The practice of letting go is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Each day, we are given the opportunity to let go of something. A small annoyance, a past mistake, or a hurt we've been carrying. And each time we do, we create more space for peace, joy, and freedom in our lives. In essence, letting go is an act of self-liberation. It is the path to reclaiming our happiness, no matter what happens around us. When we let go of the things that no longer serve us, grudges, anger, past pain, we free ourselves to experience life in a deeper, more meaningful way. We no longer allow external circumstances to dictate our inner world. Instead, we take back the power to choose our responses and our emotions. Remember, the key to letting go is not in the act of forgetting, but in choosing to release the hold that past hurts have on you. By doing so, you open the door to true freedom. Then once you experience the lightness that comes with letting go, you will begin to understand the immense power it has to transform your life. The role of gratitude, anchoring joy in the present moment. Gratitude is one of the simplest, yet most powerful tools we have for protecting our inner peace and joy. In our busy, often chaotic lives, it's easy to overlook the simple blessings that surround us. But when we take a moment to focus on the good things we already have, we start to shift our mindset and cultivate a sense of contentment that cannot easily be shaken. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a form of mindfulness. It's the act of appreciating the present moment and all that it brings. When we focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, our hearts open up, and we begin to experience life in a deeper, more fulfilling way. This is where true joy is born. Not from seeking out external sources of happiness, but from turning inward and recognizing the countless gifts that already exist in our lives. Think about it. When was the last time you stopped and simply thanked the universe for the things you take for granted every day? The ability to breathe, the food on your table, the roof over your head, the people who love you, or even the simple beauty of the world around you. These may seem like small things, but when we begin to focus on them, they become the foundation of a more joyful existence. Gratitude helps us connect with the present moment, and that's where true peace and happiness lie. When we're caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future, our joy slips through our fingers. But when we focus on what is good and right in this moment, we anchor ourselves in a place of calm and contentment. It's about appreciating the little things, the simple, everyday miracles that bring us peace and happiness. Take, for example, the simple act of eating a meal. How often do we rush through it, thinking about the next task, or checking our phone as we eat? But what if we took a moment to truly savor each bite? What if we thanked the farmers, the chefs, and the universe for bringing that food to our table? By bringing mindfulness to such ordinary moments, we transform them into moments of gratitude, which then nourish our spirit and bring us back to the present. When we express gratitude, we're not just doing it for others, we're doing it for ourselves. Gratitude is a powerful tool for reprogramming the mind. It shifts our focus from what's wrong or what's missing to what's right and abundant. It opens our eyes to the richness of life and the blessings that surround us. This shift in perspective is essential for maintaining joy, because when we focus on abundance, we stop worrying about scarcity. In Buddhism, one of the key practices for cultivating gratitude is reflection. We take time to pause and reflect on the things we are grateful for, no matter how small. It's not about forcing ourselves to feel thankful. It's about noticing the moments of goodness in our lives and letting ourselves feel that warmth. This practice helps us cultivate a heart that is open and receptive to joy, regardless of external circumstances. The beauty of gratitude is that it's always available to us. You don't need to wait for something extraordinary to happen to feel grateful. You don't have to wait for a big achievement or a special occasion, every day offers opportunities to practice gratitude, whether it's for the morning sun, a friend's kindness, or the sound of rain on your window. Gratitude is not about waiting for life to improve. It's about appreciating what is already here, right now. But what about when life gets tough? When we face difficulties or challenges, it can be hard to feel grateful. It's natural to feel discouraged when things don't go as planned, or when we're faced with unexpected obstacles. But this is where the true power of gratitude shines. Even in the hardest moments, we can find something to be grateful for. Perhaps it's the strength we discover within ourselves, the lessons we learn, or the support we receive from others. In difficult times, gratitude can be a lifeline, helping us to stay grounded and focused on what truly matters. There's a Buddhist saying that goes, "If you want to find happiness, you must first find peace." Gratitude is one of the quickest ways to create that peace. When we express gratitude, we connect with a sense of inner calm and contentment that cannot be disturbed by the outside world. It's a reminder that joy is not something that we need to search for. It's already here, within us, in the present moment. A powerful way to practice gratitude is through meditation. In Buddhist tradition, gratitude meditation involves sitting quietly and reflecting on all the things you are thankful for. You can start with something as simple as the breath, thanking your body for the ability to breathe. Then, you can expand your awareness to include the people, the experiences, and the moments that have brought you joy. This practice doesn't just help you feel grateful. It also helps you become more aware of the abundance in your life, and in turn, strengthens your ability to stay joyful, no matter what. Another simple but effective practice is keeping a gratitude journal. Every day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you are thankful for. These don't have to be grand or extraordinary things, just small moments of beauty or kindness that you notice throughout the day. Over time, you'll begin to see how much there is to be grateful for, and how this simple practice shifts your focus away from negativity and toward joy. Gratitude also helps us shift our perspective on relationships. In many ways, we take the people around us for granted. Our family, friends, coworkers, and even strangers. But when we make a conscious effort to appreciate the people in our lives, we begin to see them with new eyes. We notice the small acts of kindness, the gestures of love, and the quiet moments of connection that make our relationships meaningful. This practice not only enhances our relationships, but also deepens our sense of joy, as we realize how much love and support we have in our lives. By incorporating gratitude into our daily lives, we can transform the way we experience the world. Instead of looking for joy outside of ourselves, we begin to recognize that it is already present in the smallest moments, waiting to be noticed. The more we practice gratitude, the more we cultivate an unshakable joy that no one can steal from us. It becomes a part of who we are, woven into the very fabric of our being. In conclusion, gratitude is the anchor that keeps us grounded in the present moment, allowing us to experience the fullness of life without being swept away by external circumstances. By making gratitude a daily practice, we can transform our mindset, deepen our sense of joy, and protect our inner peace. It's a simple, powerful way to reclaim our joy, and it's always available to us, no matter what we face in life. Conclusion: protecting your joy and living fully. As we arrive at the final part of our journey, let's take a moment to reflect. What have we learned about joy and how to protect it? The truth is simple but powerful. Our joy is ours to keep. No one can steal it unless we allow them to. It's a gift we give ourselves when we decide to live mindfully, without clinging to the things that cause us pain or disappointment. You see, joy is not something that depends on circumstances. It's not about having everything go perfectly in life. It's about how we respond to life's ups and downs. Life is like the ocean, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but no matter the waves, we have the ability to find peace within. When we allow ourselves to be affected by the storms outside, we lose our balance. But when we cultivate inner peace, we become like the stillness in the center of the storm. No matter what's happening around us, our joy remains untouched. So, how do we protect this precious joy? It starts by understanding that we can choose our responses to life. We can choose to react with patience, with compassion, and with awareness. When we're mindful of our thoughts, emotions, and actions, We create a space of peace within ourselves. It's a space where no negativity can truly harm us. This space doesn't mean we don't feel emotions or face challenges. It simply means we don't let them control us. The key is to practice detachment, not from people or experiences, but from the desire to control them. When we stop trying to hold on to things that are fleeting, we stop suffering. This doesn't mean we stop caring about the world or others. Instead, we learn to love freely, without attachment to the outcome. When we love and live without expectation, we give ourselves the freedom to experience joy, regardless of what happens. You might be wondering, but what about the pain? What about the hard times? Yes, life will bring challenges. It's natural. Pain, loss, and hardship are part of the human experience. But here's the beautiful part. When we learn to embrace life as it is, without resistance, we begin to see that even in our pain, there is wisdom. Even in the darkest moments, there's the possibility for growth, understanding, and yes, even joy. Let's remember, joy is not something that we have to chase. It's already within us. It's like a seed planted deep inside, waiting for us to nurture it with our actions, thoughts, and attitudes. When we nurture kindness, patience, and mindfulness, we allow this seed to grow into something beautiful and lasting. A simple practice to protect your joy is to cultivate gratitude. Every day, take a moment to appreciate what you have. Not just the big things, but the small moments, like a cup of tea, a warm hug, or a quiet walk in nature. Gratitude helps us remember that even when things aren't perfect, there's always something to be thankful for. And in that thankfulness, joy is born. Another practice is to let go of past hurts. We all have things that have hurt us, words, actions, disappointments. But holding on to these hurts is like carrying a heavy burden. It's exhausting. When we let go of past grievances, we free ourselves to live fully in the present. And in the present, joy is always available. As we protect our joy, we also start to see the interconnectedness of all beings. When we understand that every person, every situation, is part of the same web of life, we stop seeing ourselves as separate from others. This connection brings us peace because it reminds us that we're not alone. We are all in this together. When we share our joy with others, it multiplies. It doesn't diminish or disappear. It grows stronger, spreading like a warm light. And in the end, protecting your joy isn't just about you. It's about everyone around you. When you radiate joy, you inspire others to do the same. You become a beacon of light, showing others that it's possible to live with peace, love, and happiness. No matter what's happening in the world, your joy becomes contagious, and that, my friend, is one of the most beautiful gifts you can offer to the world. Now, I want to leave you with this final thought. Protecting your joy is a lifelong practice. It's not something you can achieve in one moment, but something you nurture every day. Like a gardener tending to a garden, you must care for your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You must water it with mindfulness, patience, and love, and it will grow stronger over time. So, as we close this chapter, remember that you hold the key to your happiness. No one else can take it from you unless you let them. Life will always have its challenges, but when you live with awareness, compassion, and detachment, you will find that joy is not only possible, it's inevitable. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope the wisdom shared in this video helps you protect your joy and live a more peaceful, fulfilling life. If you found value in this content, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Let's continue growing together, and may your path be filled with lasting joy and inner peace. Until next time, may you walk in peace, always guarding the treasure of your joy.